not onto your, not. Hello, everyone. Thank you for your willingness to participate as a facilitator in the Year 1 Office of Interprofessional Collaboration activity that's happening Friday, January 27th. I'd like to acknowledge that the majority of us are currently on Treaty 1 territory, but the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, the Cree, the Ojibwe, Dakota, and Dene people, and homeland of the Métis Nation. And that the University of Manitoba works with a number of different First Nations and Inuit and Métis peoples in a variety of places, not only in our province, but also in the territory of Nunavut, specifically north in the Kavalik region. And that this session will actually very specifically help guide all of us towards learning more about the truths of the impact of colonization long-term on the health outcomes of our Indigenous relations in Canada, and hopefully move us that step closer towards reconciliation. The interprofessional education has been delivered in the Rady Faculty of Health Sciences in a variety of forms for a number of years, but in its current formation, we've been delivering IPE since 2016 to 5 different colleges and to 10 different programs that are listed on the slide here. There is a link below if you'd like to see more about or understand more about how the OIPC functions. Our curriculum, we really ground it in the 6 competencies for collaboration that have been shared with us and developed by the Canadian Interprofessional Health Collaborative back in 2010. And these are those 6 competency domains. The first 3 domains on this slide, we really focus in our longitudinal curriculum in the first year, and the second 3 in the year 2 of our longitudinal curriculum. We're discussing today the curriculum that's being delivered to our year 1 students, where we really try to focus our best on the first 3 competencies. The global learning outcomes for our first year are listed on this slide. They are divided between interprofessional collaborative care, but in the context of population health or health promotion and better health for all. We try to pay attention to the 3 different ways our learners learn in the cognitive domain, psychomotor, and affective. So we're trying to certainly create the engagement and an environment where we can hone in on the different domains of learning. So this longitudinal curriculum map that you see on this slide here just portrays that it's a 2-year-long curriculum. The students are placed together into teams in the beginning of year 1 and then stay together for 2 years. And this orientation session is specifically about the second synchronous event that's taking place on January 27th, 2023. We have more than 630 students joining us from the 10 programs from 4 campuses, including Bannatyne Campus, Fort Garry, and nursing students in Thompson and the Pas, who have been distributed across 79 interprofessional collaborative teams. The learning objectives specifically for January 27th are, while discussing models pertaining to population health, but specifically honing in on racism as a determinant of health, that our learners will be able to integrate team members' viewpoints, focus on patient, client, family, community needs and lived experiences, and critique their own team's ability to uphold goals, expectations, and processes for team functioning. So because we have so many learners and we have them across the province, we are actually splitting up the activity on January 27th into 2 waves, wave 1 and wave 2. In the first wave, we've got teams number 1 to 39, and in the second wave, teams 40 to 78. The next names that are listed at the top, we have 2 facilitators from the Office of Interprofessional Collaboration helping to deliver the overall content and move the program along. So Laura McDonald and Linnea Hodges in the first wave, and then in the second wave, myself, Moni Frick, and Trina Arnold from the College of Nursing. We are very grateful for the support of 2 Cookums to help us through this process. Leslie Spillett in wave 1 and Audrey Richard in wave 2. So you'll see in this agenda, this map, in both waves, all the students are going to be doing both activities, but it's more like a split lab where they will reverse the activities in each wave, but all the students will do all activities. So each wave will begin with a welcome. Facilitators will start in wave 1 because what we're asking you to facilitate specifically has to do with the unforgotten activity for 50 minutes. You'll be introducing yourself and doing a bit of a pre-brief in breakout rooms with the teams of students, showing a video, and then having discussion for 30 minutes and then a short debrief. You will be with a team of students that have been together since September and will be roughly 8 people only. So it's very much a small group. We have a lot more facilitators this year for this activity than we've had in the past. Meanwhile, in wave 2, we're going to hear from a team story from the Indigenous-led COVID rapid response team from Ngama's Health Services. Then there's going to be a break, and then we're going to switch activities. So you are going to move from wave 1 to wave 2 during the break at 4 o'clock. And then you're going to facilitate the exact same activity with a different group of students in wave 2. We have a lot of you, but we don't have 79 facilitators to do this all at once. So we're running it like a split lab where you will be pre-assigned to one group to facilitate in wave 1 and then a different group in wave 2. I hope that makes sense. In wave 2, because of the timing, we will show the video before you join your team. And then you'll be introducing yourself and going right into the discussion. So you'll be with your group for 40 minutes in the second wave and 50 minutes in the first wave. And then the reflections at the bottom here, the Kukums are going to help lead us through a final commentary and reflections on how to move forward. So you will hear the welcome in wave 1, and you can stay for part of the reflections in wave 2. So our job in the OIPC, we will set the stage by showing them the population health model from Health Canada. And there's another model by Margot Greenwood and the Indigenous Collaboration on Indigenous Health Improvement out of British Columbia. I think I have the acronym wrong. They have another model around service delivery change, systemic change, and structural change in trying to address racism. And we'll also be providing a definition that comes from the Rady Faculty Policy on Dismantling All Forms of Racism, which is here on the slide here. We're also going to share the 3 different levels of racism that are part of the Canadian Medical Association toolkit on that include the Unforgotten, and the film that you're going to be viewing. They use these three definitions: ideological racism, interpersonal racism, and systemic racism. That's part of the discussion that's going to take place. So if the students, they are given a different reading by Kamara Jones, which we'll share with you in advance, but we want to make sure that the students see these definitions before they watch the video. So ideological racism, interpersonal racism, and systemic racism. I'm not going to read them off. You can pause this recording for yourself if you'd like to look at them more slowly. They will be provided to you as part of your orientation package as well. So in terms of the teamwork that we want our small groups to go through is that, yes, they're watching the Unforgotten video. So the Unforgotten series by CMA provides a series of videos, 4 of them across the lifespan, but we're going to just be using the elderhood video. In wave 1, they'll watch, I mentioned earlier, they'll watch it in the breakout room with you, the facilitator, and the student team. In wave 2, because of the timing, the students are going to watch the video in the large room before they go into the breakout room. And then as facilitators, we're asking you to work through the 4 questions that are provided. This is the link to the video, so you can watch it in advance. These are the 4 questions that we would like you to discuss. In your written document, in your facilitator outline, you will be provided with all kinds of right and wrong answers, not for everything, absolutely not. And we want to point out, and we do point out in the orientation written document, that these are a guideline for discussion points. You don't have to stick to them specifically. You don't have to do them in the right order, although we think the first question would do well to begin with. Allow the students to just think about what they just heard. Maybe they need to sit in their silence, but we want them to share what they thought about the film and why. And then you can work your way through the other questions. Again, if you don't get through all of them, That's okay. They're meant to be a guide for your discussion. And in the written orientation package that accompanies this recording, we have all kinds of tips written there and additional resources for you if you feel you need to prepare further before you move into these discussion points. And there's a link again that you can watch the video. And the discussion points, again, we wanted you to think about them before you watch the video, and now this is what you would facilitate with your students after the video. And just so that you know, following January 27th, the students will have an asynchronous discussion to continue the conversation in their team, where they'll be asked to unpack further about how they might take action as a team to address anti-racism in their team or in the healthcare system. So a note to facilitators, again, I've mentioned this already, but one more time, these students have all met each other and have been working together since September in 3 synchronous virtual meetings and 1 asynchronous discussion. Now, there is always some movement in these teams, so there may be new team members. So for example, nursing is allowed to study part-time, so there might be some team members who are new to the team. So you would have to start off your breakout room with some introductions, not just for yourself, but in case there's somebody new in the team that they haven't met before. And again, the discussion points are provided, but rigid adherence is not critical. We really want you to have an open, respectful team discussion on how everybody needs to take action for anti-racism. And you should also be aware that the different programs have had different degrees of education on health equity and racism to this point. So 10 programs, 10 different curricula. Some have taken a lot on racism, some have taken very little. Some have taken previous undergraduate degrees on Indigenous issues or history before they've joined their healthcare professional program. So all your individual students will come with a variable degree of how comfortable they are discussing these topics. But what we're really hoping is that you're particularly aware of engagement, that all voices matter. They may not feel comfortable sharing. You may have to allow students to take a pass, but we want their cameras on if they feel comfortable doing so, and we want everyone to speak. We have heard anecdotally that often everybody has their cameras off. I think that we can understand they might need their cameras off for connectivity issues. We've heard from some students that they don't feel comfortable having their camera on, sharing these kinds of difficult conversations. Use your judgment. Hopefully they have a rationale why they want their cameras off. You'd always be able to send them a private chat in your breakout room to find out why someone doesn't feel comfortable, if you feel comfortable asking them that. But certainly we want them to be engaged. That's the point. In your breakout rooms when you're there, and the students will have these notes to them as well, there needs to be a volunteer note keeper. So someone will be taking notes. We're providing them with a team minutes or a team notes template on Learn. They can access it and take some notes, because we're asking them to then submit a copy of their team minutes or notes at the end of the session. So you might just need to please give them a reminder that someone should be taking notes and who's going to take the notes. And it shouldn't always be the same person who takes the notes, of course. We will be sharing ground rules with the students before they go into their breakout rooms about that this is a forum for discussion of ideas with, from, and about learning about differing viewpoints. That's why we're doing this, but it's not meant to be a debate. To keep in mind to be open and fair-minded, uphold integrity and humility while they have this discussion, which for some individuals may be very uncomfortable and might make them feel very angry and frustrated. So how to make sure that they're having a authentic and a team discussion that can uphold the rules that are shown on this slide. As a facilitator, you might need to remind some people as you go into your breakout rooms. This is again a copy of the agenda or the waves. Again, the video, that's one difference between the two waves, is that in the second wave, we'll be showing the video before you go into your teams, so you don't have to show it twice. And just another note about what will be happening with the two teams when you're not with them. They'll be hearing from the Ungamizin Health Services COVID response team, where they're going to talk about Indigenous leadership, a key to success and action for anti-racism. They are going to talk about some of their own experiences that they may have to have faced in systemic racism in trying to deliver their services as part of the rapid response team. And the speakers who will be speaking to that in this panel, you can see on the slide here. And reflections will end the session. There'll be a large group debrief, but recognizing this is 300 students together, we want to have it open if anybody wants to share anything. There may be complete silence, and that's okay, but it'll provide an opportunity for the CUCUM to provide closing comments as well. Now, there will be an optional debrief for everybody after this is all done, and students and faculty will be invited to join an optional debrief. Officially, formally, the session is done at 5 p.m., but we've provided these optional debriefs in the past, and people seem to really like the option. So there will be an optional private debrief room for students with the CUCUM. If there are any faculty member who self-identifies Indigenous and want to join that breakout room, that will be absolutely fine. There'll be a different private debrief room for faculty members to debrief, and another one for students who don't want to join the CUCUM, so that there are different options for different groups of students and how they would like to debrief. Just to share with you what the students are doing to prepare, they will have downloaded hopefully their team minutes or team notes template from UM Learn. They'll be reading Peter Kahn's article Advance, which really specifically calls for interprofessional collaboration to dismantle racism. We're asking them to read the Rady Faculty Disruption of All Forms of Racism policy in advance, and to help frame the discussion around racism, to either read Kamara Jones' article about the different levels of racism, or they can listen to her TED Talk on YouTube if they prefer. And now I'll take some questions, and if we can please stop the recording now.